Hi, I'm Larry Imperiale. I'm a Freestyle Frisbee player, among other Frisbee sports like Ultimate. I've won 13 World Championships in Freestyle, Open Freestyle, 19 major tournaments. That includes tournaments like US Open, etc. So that's a little bit of my background, competitive. So starting Freestyle, I went to college in Northern California in a small town, Chico, California. And I remember my first memory of freestyle was not true freestyle because we were isolated. We did not know there were actually tournaments and people spinning a frisbee on their nail or doing freestyle. A guy I was playing catch with, all of a sudden one day I kicked it, caught it, and I said, I bet you I'm the first person in the world to do that. And that's before I knew frisbee existed. But then shortly thereafter we were, and I forget the details of actually the first throw, but I met my friend Jim Terhorst and a few other people who could play frisbee. And all of a sudden, someone said, do you know you can spin it on your fingernail? And from that moment on, we became freestyle addicts in college. In between classes, we'd be out there every weekend. We started a club called the Chico Airheads, but we were doing freestyle, we were doing ultimate, we were playing golf on the campus to objects. We were doing everything we could with a frisbee. And then shortly thereafter, we were freestyling at a place called Bidwell Mansion, and all of a sudden this guy comes up named Kevin Gibbons, later known as Skippy Jammer. And his girlfriend went to Chico State. And so we started, he said, hey guys, we got some freestylers here, let's play. And I said, oh, you know what, I sort of like Ultimate better. I really liked Ultimate. It was a team sport, it was less challenging than getting good. But we started freestyling with Skippy. He was a huge influence, certainly in the Chico environment, also Sonoma, where he came from. And I remember Skippy showing a move called a flame dot, and then catching it under here when you're standing up. And I literally tried that 90 times in a row until I caught it. I do remember that. Sitting there while people were playing Ultimate, okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And, but then Skippy showed me a chest roll. And he said, Larry, don't just do a chest roll, move your body with the disc. And so all of a sudden I said, okay, I'm going to keep the disc right here, and I'm going to do a chest roll, but I'm going to move my body. And that's when I started to really like chest rolling and freestyle. And then I finally said, you know what, I like Ultimate, but I like freestyle too. And then we started going to tournaments. As the Chico, actually the Coloradicals were famous then, we became the Chico Ridicules. Because we were not in their league at that time, but there were three of us that had a very exciting style, Jim Terhorst, Brian White, and myself. And we started going to tournaments. We actually won a tournament in Humboldt in '78. And then we started going to the big tournaments, and that was sort of the big breakthrough for us, starting to make the finals of Santa Barbara tournament, and then what made the biggest difference for me after graduating from Chico was I played Ultimate for Stanford. And this is, I think, anyone who wants to learn freestyle needs to keep in mind, because most people play freestyle playing back and forth with someone catch, maybe I can do it under the leg, maybe I can do a couple tips, maybe a delay. But what I did in addition to that was playing Ultimate on the sidelines. There was no one in freestyle. So I simply started playing in Stanford by myself in the wind. Roll, 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 brush, brush, brush. Just doing everything I could by myself. And that was fall of 1980. And I was already an okay player at that point. But after that, I became a new level player. I was one of the better wind players, I was one of the better rollers, and continued to build on that through my career. So I think the one thing about learning freestyle is play by yourself, especially if you can get a decent wind. You don't have to be on the beach. The beach is nice because it becomes so consistent, and if you can get on a beach, there's nothing like that. But even right here in the middle of Virginia, I've got a nice breeze coming off my back, very consistent, would be beautiful for freestyle. Now, Virginia's not always like that, but right now it is. In the summer it's even better than the spring. So I think that was the biggest breakthrough for me. And then, because I had a little unique style, I remember this. Bill Wright and I were playing at the 1980 Rose Bowl, just jamming in the field. And it was before people were doing a lot of co-ops with multiple rolls and exchanges, and all of a sudden one time Bill rolled it to me, and generally people would just catch it at that point, or and I remember actually getting it and rolling it back to Bill and Bill catching it, and we looked at each other and go, wow, that was really special. And no, everyone else was doing the big Z's, and we're like, wow, and all of a sudden we're like, wow, this is pretty fun. And Bill and I were counter players mainly, and many of the other players were clock players. And so Bill and I just came together because we were had a similar style. We liked to airbrush, and that was another big breakthrough for me, was to be able to, because I never had the same, you know, if I look at the people like Joey Hudoklin or Donnie Rose or those great players, they had so much flexibility and so much grace, and I had neither of those. I couldn't touch my toes, and I didn't really have a lot of grace. What I had was power, speed, and the ability to keep a disc going through brushing, and that became my niche. Even though I wasn't at the level of those guys and those what were thought of as core Frisbee skills, then flexibility, grace, etc., I was able to do well in the sport. And I think that's a great thing about the sport. You know, everyone comes in, everyone plays different. People are like, oh man, that's a different style, and then all of a sudden the guy's winning 3 world titles in 5 years, you know, or whatever. So I think that's what the beauty of freestyle. Not everyone plays the same, everyone's different. So that was a big understanding for me, and that time with Bill blossomed into a 35-year jamming career with Bill, believe it or not. And we are going to be one of the top seeds coming up in Medellin. Here we are 35 years after that Rose Bowl jam. So